Hi guys, I'm sure you're familiar with the phenomenon where a political party demands something while being in opposition and does exactly the opposite of that after coming to power. So today's video is exactly about that. I want to remind you of the time when Dr. Manmohan Singh of the Congress and Sri Prakash Karat of the CPIM spoke up for the rights of Hindus in Bangladesh when they were in the opposition. In order to make this quick, I will simply read out their statements. First, this is part of Dr. Manmohan Singh's appeal in the Parliament on 18 December 2003 when he was the leader of the opposition. He said, quote, "While I am on this subject, madam, I would like to say something about the treatment of refugees. After the partition of our country, the minorities in countries like Bangladesh have faced persecution, and it is our moral obligation that if circumstances force people, these unfortunate people, to seek refuge in our country, our approach to granting citizenship to these unfortunate persons should be more liberal. I sincerely hope that the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister will bear this in mind in charting out the future course of action with regard to the Citizenship Act." End quote. If you ever use this fact in a debate and someone hopelessly tries to counter you saying that, no, Dr. Singh didn't mean it that way, or that Dr. Singh didn't talk about excluding Muslims, etc., point out to them very, very specifically that how Dr. Singh framed that statement, okay? He says, minorities in countries like Bangladesh have faced persecution. Now, is there really any debate about who is the persecuted minority in Bangladesh? And if there isn't, you could argue that specifically mentioning a persecuted minority obviously implies excluding the non-persecuted majority of that country. Now let me tell you what Sri Prakash Karat wrote to Dr. Manmohan Singh on 3rd June 2012 when he was basically pushing Dr. Singh about the issue. He writes, "This is to draw your attention to the citizenship problems of the large number of refugees from erstwhile East Bengal and then even after the formation of Bangladesh, who had to flee their country in particular historical circumstances over which they had no control. Their situation is different from those who have come to India due to economic reasons. While we advocate a humane approach to all sections, on the specific issue of citizenship, we share the opinion you had strongly advocated as leader of the opposition when it was debated in Parliament in 2003. You will kindly recall that under the India government, the Citizenship Amendment Bill 2003 was placed, which did not differentiate between the different sections that would be affected by the bill. At that time you had stated, quote, "With regard to the treatment of refugees after the partition of our country, the minorities in countries like Bangladesh have faced persecution, and it is our moral obligation that if circumstances force people, these unfortunate people, to seek refuge in our country, approach to granting citizenship to these unfortunate persons should be more liberal. I sincerely hope that the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister bear this in mind in charting out the future course of action." End quote. In response to your appeal, the then Deputy Prime Minister Advani had said, quote, "What the leader of the opposition has said, I am fully in agreement with the views expressed." End quote. This should have been followed with a suitable amendment to clause 2(1)(b) of the Citizenship Amendment Act 2003 in relation to the minority community refugees from Bangladesh. However, in spite of the consensus on the floor of the House, this was not done. This is still Prakash Karat writing. In spite of the consensus on the floor of the House, this was not done. For nearly a decade, the matter has been pending. In the meanwhile, the insecurity felt by the refugees is heightened since in the present drive of Aadhaar, they are excluded and considered illegal migrants facing the constant threat of deportation. Lakhs of families are affected, the majority of them from scheduled caste communities like Namashudra, Pondra Khatriya, Majhi, etc. I request you to consider the issue and take the steps which you consider are necessary, including the amendment to the law referred to, so as to bring relief to these unfortunate families living across India." End quote. So you see, even in CPIM's case, no one can really argue today that, CPIM did not want to exclude the non-persecuted majority of that country. And why? Because Sri Prakash Karat is in fact even more specific about who he is talking about when he talks about the quote-unquote persecuted minorities of that country. He mentions them by name and none of which belong to the non-persecuted majority of that country. So guys, don't let these people go back on their promises and always keep reminding the supporters of these people what they actually stand for. And they either stand for hypocrisy or they stand for Bangladeshi Hindus. And I would like to end this video with a quote from historian Sitaram Goel. Just as a warning, he had said that with time, Congress will become the Muslim League and BJP will become the Congress. Jaya Jaya he Mahishasura Mardini Ramya Kapardini Shai